I'm James Howley with a special edition of Wildcat News. Today, I'm speaking with Maple Shade Superintendent of Schools Mr. Livengood and the Business Administrator, Mrs. Cawood, to discuss the 2010-2011 district budget. Thank you for speaking with me today.
Hi, James.
Hello.
Mr. Livengood, in September, you mentioned several new programs and initiatives in the district. How are these going so far?
Yes, when we talked in September, James, we were really excited because we've added quite a few new programs this year. I'll mention just a few today. One of the programs we're very happy with is the preschool autistic class over at Maud Wilkins. That class is allowing us to keep six of our students here in district rather than sending them out. And I've been in that class a number of times this year, and it's really very successful. We're also offering a variety of after-school tutoring programs to our 3 elementary schools. We've been able to service 100 students with after-school tutoring.
Wow.
Along with that, we're offering 2 online tutoring programs that parents can access at home for their students. One is called Education City, and the other is called Skills Tutor. Here at the high school, we've implemented the Rosetta Stone Language Lab, and that program is going very well. One of the areas where we've seen a huge improvement is in our advanced placement classes. Last year, to give you an example, we had a total of 2 students take 4 exams at the end of the year. This year we have 18 students taking 30 exams, so that's been a great improvement.
Yeah, wow.
So we're excited about all those programs.
I'm glad those are going so well. I've been reading in the newspaper about the funding loss for schools. Can you explain the budget process and if we lost any funding?
Yes. The budget process starts in late fall. The administrators start to sit down and meet regularly and put together our spending plan for the following year. During that course of time, we started hearing things from Trenton that there were going to be different losses in funding for us. And over the winter, we found out that we were losing just about $1 million of our excess surplus funds.
Wow.
So that was a big hit. Shortly after that, when we got our state aid figures for next year, we found out that we're losing about 17% of our state aid, which equates to $1.5 million.
Wow.
So right off the bat, we were looking at a $2.5 million shortfall for next year.
That is a huge loss of money. What is our total budget for next year, and what things have been cut from the budget?
The total budget's just under $33 million, and when you're looking at cutting over $2 million, districts have to look at cutting different staff and programs. We actually made cuts all across the budget in every account. We cut 5.5 teachers. 2 of those people are retirees. We cut 7 aides, 1 child study team member who's retiring that we're not replacing, 1.5 secretaries. We are reducing an administrator to a half-time administrative position. We have cut several activities here at the high school that had fairly low participation rates. We've cut all across the board in our supply and textbook accounts, and we've reduced what we'll be spending in professional development for teachers and other professional staff.
How did you decide on what programs and staff should be cut?
When the administrators started to meet, we came up with the idea that whatever cuts we made, we wanted to try to make cuts that would least impact students and learning. So we tried to stay away from cuts here at the high school, for example, that would cut back on sports or student activities. And overall, we tried to cut as few teachers as we possibly could.
How do our cuts compare with cuts made in other districts?
If you've been reading the paper, you have seen that every district, not only in Burlington County, but across the state, is in the same position with greatly reduced state funding. So everybody's making cuts, and I think when you look at Maple Shade and the cuts we made, we've made far fewer cuts, especially in the area of teachers, than most districts.
The next set of questions will be aimed to our Business Administrator, Mrs. Cawood. Mrs. Cawood, where do we get our revenue for our budget?
The majority of the revenue for our budget comes from state aid and from local taxes. This year, 25% is coming from state aid and 71% from local tax levy.
Can you explain how $1 is spent in the budget?
Certainly. The majority, about 54.5 cents, is spent on instruction, and I'll review the other numbers that are on the chart from the public hearing. 10.2 cents is from operation and maintenance of plant services, and a little over 17 cents is for benefits.
What do these cuts and loss of funding mean to the local taxpayer?
This year, due to the overall loss of $2.5 million, we'll be looking at a tax increase of approximately $270 on the average home in Maple Shade, assessed at $205,000.
Wow.
Or another way to look at that is it would be approximately $22 per month.
Mr. Livengood, when is the election?
The election this year is April 20th from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and we would encourage all citizens to come out and vote this year, especially in light of the loss of funding from the state.
Definitely. What happens if the budget passes or if it fails?
If the budget passes, it will be approved and implemented as it stands right now. If it were to fail, it would go to the Township Council where they review it, and they could possibly approve it as is if they think it's a reasonable budget, or they can recommend cuts to be made, and then the Board of Education has to match the dollar amount for those cuts.
What are your thoughts about the future of Maple Shade Schools?
Despite all these losses that we've talked about and the millions of dollars that we've lost and the cuts that we've had to make, I know that we have a great staff here at Maple Shade. I think that's probably our biggest strength, from administrators through teachers and our support staff. So with our staff, I'm confident that despite these cuts, we will still be able to offer an excellent educational program here for our students.
Thank you both for talking to me and answering questions I'm sure many people had about the budget next year. I'm James Howley, here with a special budget edition of Wildcat News.